Well, folks, what we just witnessed this weekend will go down as one of the most humiliating moments in Democrat history. The left promised chaos. They promised mobs in the streets. They promised to storm Charlie Kirk's memorial with outrage and fury. And what actually happened? Less than 10 protesters, Soros' so-called army, showed up with a couple of pitiful signs, while hundreds of thousands of patriots lined up hours early to honor Kirk. But this is just the beginning, because while the left embarrassed themselves with the most pathetic protest that we've ever seen, something even bigger is happening. Their so-called unity has been completely shattered. The knives are out, the masks are off. Destiny exposed himself, calling for political violence. Hassan scrambling to hold on to relevance, radicals attacking moderates, and moderates abandoning the radicals. It's not just a flop. This is a full-blown left-wing civil war, and the contrast really couldn't be any clearer. On the one side, President Trump, Elon Musk, Erika, Kirk, Stephen Miller, and 100,000 Americans standing shoulder to shoulder in faith, forgiveness, and strength. But on the other side, a broken, fractured Democrat Party humiliated on the world stage, tearing itself apart from the inside out. Because tonight, we're going to expose every crack in their collapsing coalition, every humiliating failure, and why this funeral protest disaster has triggered a civil war that the Democrats just cannot survive. Hit the like button, subscribe, share this video everywhere, because the media sure will not show you this. All right, so we need to set the stage, because America is still trying to rebuild strength and confidence right now. But while America's trying to do that, the Democrats just staged one of the most humiliating spectacles that we've ever seen. For weeks, left-wing activists promised a massive protest at Charlie Kirk's funeral. They swore that they would shut it down. They hyped it up online. They said that, this would be the moment that they would make their mark. But when the day arrived, less than 10 people showed up. That's it. 10. And those who did stumble out, they looked like they were pulled from the bottom of Soros' reject pile, like the F team. Guys, no energy, no passion, just a few pitiful, crappy signs scribbled with garbage messages like "Don't worship the dead" and "God hates proud sinners." Completely pathetic. Now think about that. The left is so broken, they're so chaotic that they couldn't even gather a handful of bodies to wave some banners at a memorial. Weak. Protesting a funeral? How low do you have to sink? And yet, even when they do sink that low, they still failed. Total humiliation. But here's where it gets even worse for them, because while Soros' protest army fizzled into single digits, over 100,000 patriots lined up for hours, some arriving 14 hours early just to pay their respects to Charlie Kirk. Drop a Charlie Kirk down below if you respect Charlie Kirk and his work and his grieving widow, Erika Kirk, guys. Entire families waiting in the heat, flags waving, chants echoing through the streets. When the doors opened, the crowd was electric, an unstoppable wave of support, stretching as far as the eye could see. So let's make the contrast clear. On the one side, you got 10 sad leftists holding hateful signs, embarrassed by their own party's weakness. But on the other side, you had an army of Americans standing shoulder to shoulder, honoring Kirk, rallying behind Erika Kirk, and welcoming President Trump with thunderous applause. This wasn't just a funeral. This was a statement. This was a show of strength, a reminder that the MAGA movement is alive, it's growing, and it's united, while the Democrats can't even scrape together double digits to stage their tantrum. So that's just the beginning, though, because what happened next? This actually turns this entire movement from humiliation to something that was so powerful, it shook the entire country. Now, if you could save money, keep your doctor, and gain benefits at no extra cost, wouldn't that make sense? This is what most people discover after reviewing their Medicare plan with Chapter. Guys, this is why I partner with Chapter, because they use these common sense principles and they use this to help people navigate Medicare without the pressure. Now, one of our viewers said, she said, Chapter made my Medicare decision feel like the easiest choice I've made in years. So let me ask, doesn't it just make sense to do what most people already are? Most people are already calling the phone number right there at the bottom of your screen, or they're visiting askchapter.org/Ron. Phone number is 909-563-8279. And then came the moment that nobody could have scripted, guys. Erika Kirk, the widow of Charlie Kirk, stood before this massive crowd, cameras rolling, the world watching, and instead of bitterness, Instead of vengeance, she quoted the very words of Jesus Christ, "Father, forgive him. Forgive them, they do not know what they do." And then she did the unthinkable. She forgave her husband's killer right there in front of 100,000 people. She said she forgives the man who ripped her life apart. Now, folks, I'll be honest with you. That moment right there, it hit everyone in the room. As a Christian, watching her choose grace over hate, forgiveness over rage, it tore right through the crowd. People were crying. Strangers were hugging. I mean, you could feel the weight of it. Drop a crying in the comments down below if anyone cried when you watched that. Now, here's the contrast here. While a grieving widow showed the world what faith looks like outside the gates, a handful of bitter leftists waved signs mocking death. Now, tell me which side has the moral high ground here. Tell me which side America is choosing. But of course, it didn't stop there, because the moments later, President Donald J. Trump, he walked up to Erika Kirk, pointed to the sky, and embraced her. The crowd went crazy. The crowd erupted. It wasn't just a president consoling a widow. It was a leader standing shoulder to shoulder with a family, with a movement, with a cause bigger than any one man. Think about the symbolism here. While Democrats descended into chaos and division, Trump was uniting tens of thousands of people in one place, reminding America that we don't back down, we don't surrender, and we never give up the truth. Now, folks, that's why the left is collapsing. While they tear each other apart, President Trump is doing what they can't, leading with strength, showing compassion, and rallying a movement that only grows stronger with every attack. But if you think that was powerful, wait until you hear what happened when Elon Musk took the stage. Elon Musk, this is a man who almost never shows emotion, breaking down in front of the crowd and proving once again that the left's chaos is nothing compared to the unity that we're building here. Then, ladies and gentlemen, the entire place went silent when Elon Musk stepped up to the microphone. Now, Elon is a man who's built rockets, cars, and a social media empire, but he's not a man who's known for emotion. He's stoic, logical, almost robotic at times. But at Charlie Kirk's memorial, for the first time in years, we saw him choke up. Elon called Charlie Kirk a man of peace, a man of ideas. He said Charlie never raised his voice, that he believed in dialogue and open debate. And then Elon said the line that sent chills through the crowd. Charlie was killed because his words made a difference. He was showing people the light, and he was killed by the dark. Now think about that. Elon Musk, a man who brought Twitter, he bought Twitter himself. He turned Twitter into X and restored free speech for millions. Standing right next to President Trump, the man who built the most powerful political movement in modern history, united in grief, but also united in purpose. These two men, they had their differences. But at this memorial, all of that disappeared. The handshake, the embrace, the symbolism, it was powerful. It was history, guys. Meanwhile, on the other side, what was happening with the Democrats? Chaos, absolute chaos. The so-called debate bros, the online thought leaders, Destiny, Hassan, all of them are now tearing each other to pieces. Destiny caught on tape joking about genociding conservatives, admitting he's moved to the real violence level. This isn't debate. This isn't reason. This is eliminist rhetoric. And after Charlie Kirk's assassination, people are finally connecting the dots. The clips are resurfacing. The excuses aren't working. Even his own allies are abandoning him. And Hassan, a complete joke, desperate to cling to influence, but as ineffective as ever. The left's factions are eating each other alive. The radicals attacking moderates, activists mocking party elites, and nobody stepping up to lead. Folks, this isn't unity. This is a civil war. So while President Trump and Elon Musk unite to strengthen America, Democrats are splitting into camps that hate each other more than they hate us. It's crazy to watch. And the Kirk funeral protest flop, oh, it's only made their fractures even more obvious. But it gets worse because this isn't just the first time. This is the first time that we've seen Democrats implode. Just look back at Kamala Harris's failed 2024 campaign. Now, folks, if you want proof that this Democrat meltdown didn't just start yesterday, you don't have to look very far. Just rewind to the 2024 election. Does anybody remember Kamala Harris? Drop a cackle in the comments down below if you remember Kamala Harris. She tried to run the safe campaign Carefully scripted, consultant approved, avoiding the far left radicals. She even picked Tim Walz, thinking dads in camo hats were suddenly going to flock to her rallies. It didn't happen. Tim Walz was a flop. Kamala Harris was a flop. What happened? It completely backfired miserably. Her attempt to play both sides alienated everybody. The pro-Palestinians, extremists abandoned her, not just staying home, but actively mobilizing against her. The moderates didn't trust her, the radicals despised her, and the result was a fractured base that collapsed on election day. It was a failure. That was the crack in the dam. And so now here we are, a year later, the exact same thing is happening at Charlie Kirk's memorial. They promised outrage. They promised chaos. They promised to make a statement. Instead, 10 sad protesters, a sea of Trump supporters, and an entire Democratic Party still at war with itself. But here's the moment that really kind of sealed it. After Trump, after Erika, Kirk, after Elon Musk, Stephen Miller took the stage. And when I tell you the crowd, like he lit the crowd on fire, I mean it. The man delivered one of the most blistering speeches I've heard in years. Miller pointed directly at the left, calling them wicked, wickedness, envy, hatred. Then he turned it on its head. He said, look, we are the builders, the creators, the lifters of humanity. You thought you could kill Charlie Kirk? You made him immortal. The crowd exploded. People were on their feet. Some were crying, others shouted, fists in the air. It wasn't just a speech. It was a declaration of war against the forces that tried to silence Kirk. Now, here's the real situation, guys. While Democrats are drowning in dysfunction, conservatives are stepping up with moral clarity like never before, with passion, with purpose. Every time the left humiliates itself or all it does is it makes our side grow stronger. But if you thought that this was just a funeral, you'd be missing the bigger picture, because this event, it's become a turning point, a symbol of what's coming next. Now, here's the truth. What we witnessed wasn't just a funeral. It was a defining moment in American politics. This was a turning point that exposed everything the Democrats don't want you to see. Think about the symbolism. Outside, fewer than 10 bitter leftists waving signs nobody freaking cared about. But inside, over 100,000 patriots lined up 14 hours early, not for a concert, not for a celebrity, but to honor a man who stood for faith, family, and freedom. That is momentum. That is power. That's a movement. And then you add in the emotional moments. Erika Kirk's forgiveness. While the left shouts hatred, she quoted the words of Christ and forgave her husband's killer. That wasn't weakness. That was strength. That was moral clarity. The kind of strength that builds civilizations. Then there was President Trump. Not just attending, not just speaking, but consoling Erika, pointing to the heavens, embracing the family, showing the world what real leadership looks like. The kind that brings people together when the enemy tries to tear us apart. Then you saw Elon Musk, one of the most powerful men on earth, breaking down, as he called Kirk, a man of peace, killed by the dark. Think about that, okay? Elon Musk and President Trump together on stage, no division, no feud, no separation. That's not just symbolism. That's a coalition the Democrats cannot compete with. And finally, Stephen Miller's speech. His words were fire. You thought you could kill Charlie Kirk? You made him immortal. That wasn't just rhetoric. That was a declaration, a promise that for every leader they try to silence, a million more voices will rise up to carry the mission forward. So what does all of this add up to? A funeral that became a rallying cry, a supposed protest that turned into a national embarrassment for the Democrats, a civil war inside their ranks exposed for the world to see. Because let's be real, the Democrat coalition is finished. Moderates don't trust the radicals. Radicals despise the moderates. Their online influencers are calling for violence, then eating each other alive when the heat turns up. They can't unite. They can't lead. They can't win. And when you put all those factions in one tent, you don't get unity, you get collapse, you get chaos, you get civil war, because meanwhile, our side is building, uniting, growing. The funeral that was supposed to be a target for protesters became a megaphone for our own movement. And the contrast couldn't be clearer. On the left, chaos, division, humiliation. On the right, forgiveness, strength, unity, leadership. And here's a warning. If this is what the Democrats look like in 2025, broken, embarrassed, infighting at every turn. Imagine what's coming in 2026. Imagine how ugly this civil war is going to get as midterms approach. They won't get more unified. They're only going to get nastier, more desperate, more divided, and more dangerous. But here's the good news. They can't stop us. Every time they stumble, we grow. Every time they humiliate themselves, we gain ground. Every time they tear each other apart, we build stronger. Charlie Kirk's legacy didn't die at the memorial. It only multiplied. His wife's forgiveness, Trump's leadership, Elon Musk's emotion, Miller's fire, it all fused into a moment bigger than any one of them. It became proof that under President Trump, this movement is unstoppable. So do not let the media fool you. Do not let the noise distract you. Remember what you saw: the empty protest, the overflowing crowd, the moral clarity, and the unity. That's the story of America right now. The left is collapsing, the right is rising, and this is just the beginning. So stay strong, stay united, keep fighting. And when history looks back on September 2025, it's not going to remember the 10 protesters that were outside. It's going to remember the 100,000 that were inside. It's only going to remember the forgiveness, the strength, the unity, and it's going to remember that the left's civil war was exposed for the entire world to see. Like, subscribe, share this everywhere, folks, because the truth is on our side. And the movement that Charlie Kirk helped build, it's only getting started.